Good morning, my friend. Today is, let's see, December 6th, I believe. Yeah, Thursday, December 6th, 2018. And I have this vision that continues of world peace by December 31st, 2018. So time's getting short, not far away as Christmas. And that can be maybe where the whole transition begins. Who knows? Christmas for me is every time I remember that Christ and I are one, that I am the Christ expressing, I'm in the Christmas. I'm in the Savior of my world, the world peace that's within and that I radiate without. So before recording, it came to me of today is a day of infinite possibility. Which ones will I choose? And I still stay with world peace. I know it can happen in an instant, and that's really all I have to know. So, yeah. I want to do a computer check on something. Sorry. So, birth of the Christ, but that's not what today is about. I got a few more days for that one. I've been thinking over the past couple of days about the human, from our very beginning to where we are, and to where I think we, as a collective we of you and me as one, with everyone around the world, wherever we see the seeming discord, wherever we're seeing discord is our opportunity to go above the perception we have of it to a higher perception. And this is the development. And what we can see. And some things are harder than others, but we can do it. All we have to do is be open to believe we can do it. And we do it, because that we are does it through us. But that's the end of the story, so to speak. Yeah. So let's begin with man. Human, Hu means spirit or spiritual man, okay? And this is the evolution from man to human, from the physical, limited, ignorant in a positive word, not knowing. We didn't even realize we had consciousness. We go back. I mean, we think 1,000 years ago or 2,000 years ago is a long time. But today we're talking millions and billions and trillions and beyond megabucks so commonly in our world. A million years ago doesn't seem like a long time. But when you think about the generations, the centuries of that, it's a long, long time ago. And from that time to right here today, we, a human we, have been evolving our spiritual, not evolving it, by recognizing it is who we already are. And that's a big jump. So in the early days of man, we only worked from instinct. And we worked for survival. And we worked for protection. The basics of life as we know it, of all life. The tree has bark. Our cell has a skin. Our body has a skin. Everything has protection. So, and then our man mind started developing into caves, protection from the weather. And then many, many, many years after that, fire was discovered. I don't know how, I don't have to know how. It's just there wasn't a time it existed, and there's a time it does exist. And then I think that man started realizing that he could think, that he could make a conscious thought, and that he could remember that thought. I think those two things are very important to the development of the man to the human. It begins with consciousness. Everything begins with consciousness. The consciousness of instinct was there before the consciousness of awareness, that I can think, and I can choose, and I can remember. And so what developed was the man started thinking about food and protection, and that we could store it, we could grow it, we could have an abundance of it where we didn't have to be looking for it. We could make it always available. So we learned to develop tools. Even traps for the animals, of catching animals, and possibly not farm them, but at least be able to trap them. So there was the need was met without the effort of seeking it. And then these groups of man lived all over the earth, concentrated in certain areas, and expanded to others. Being of the mammal family, we adapt to our environment, unlike the reptilian and amphibian, who are called cold-blooded, so they just take on the temperature of their environment, whereas we maintain a temperature and we know what to do to maintain it, how to protect ourselves. And then all around the world, these small groups started creating languages, a way of communicating their thoughts, their ideas. Very simple in the beginning. And because man didn't start all in one place, but in many places, there were many languages. For each one developed their own. And that didn't happen overnight. That happened over thousands of years. But it happened. It went from not being to being. And then from language, developed the curiosity. Who am I? Why am I here? How does this all work? The mind likes puzzles. My teacher Thelma teaches. The intellect loves puzzles. And so being brand new in this world as we're awakening in our consciousness and observing beyond instinct into more intuitive and inquisitive nature, we start developing. And 2018 years ago, a master teacher came upon this plane whose name is Jesus. At that time, the world was still a simple place. There was no written communication. Well, I guess there was written communication, but it wasn't reproducible except by hand. And again, languages were still being developed, so there were many languages around. So the Bible is a collective of many languages, interpreted many times, and sometimes, instead of going back to the original script, it goes back to a previous translation like Greek instead of back to the Aramaic. So all these cultures develop their own way of being. Physically, we're all the same that way. We all have ideas. We all think our ideas are right, while others may be in conflict, even to the point of arguing about them. And this is still part of the so-called animal nature. That's more the instinct and what we call the ego or the lower consciousness. Sorry, I was interrupted with a little chore. I was talking about arguing, and see, in the animal nature, when there's disagreement, there's one, we have squirrels, and one will attack the other, and the other runs away, and then comes back, and they both sit there and eat, you know. So it seems like that's an animal instinct, is if threatened in any way, and maybe we feel our idea is threatened, one of our instincts is to fight back, but that's an animal nature. Spiritual nature of us doesn't do that. See, what's happened is instinct is very, very limited in the choices it can make. It's reactive only. It doesn't think. Instinct is reactive. So instinct, our consciousness is more intelligent than just merely our instinct, that we can plan things. Instinct is not planning. I mean, there may be to some degree, but not the degree we can do it when we allow our spiritual nature to come in more. Something I started saying that I forgot where I was going, but I said 2,000 years ago, the Master Jesus was born on this earth with a whole new concept of life, a whole new concept of God. And it's this concept that I'm attempting to encourage or awaken to those who haven't got it yet, and to nurture and nourish those of us that do have it. Jesus came, he learned, he started out like you and me. Read Christ's letters, 2000 AD, also known as Christ Returns, Speaks His Truth, also known as Christ Returns, Reveals Startling Truth. And it started out as 9 individual manuscripts of Christ transcribing these truths, kind of like what I call the autobiography of Jesus. So if you want to know Jesus, instead of just knowing about Jesus, get these letters. You can also get them at Christ's plural way, or not really plural, it's possessive, Christ's way dot C as in Cobra, O dot Z as in zebra, A. So Christ's way dot co.za, and you can find all 9 letters there. They're free. You can download them. You can print them. You can, have them as your very own, or you can buy them in book form. So, and if you want more information, Chapel in the Sky without hyphens at AOL.com. Chapel in the Sky at AOL.com. No walls, no ceilings, no limits, no boundaries. Free spirit, free life. So anyway, so this is really what we're coming into. We're coming into more of our hue of man rather than a man of man, okay? We're developing. We're tired of the killing. We're tired of the news that we're seeing, but we don't know better ways. Well, the better way is to love one another. And those are out of bounds, you know, they're, in the beginning, we may need to have these people separated from humanity, but not as punishment, but as education. How can I help you see a better way of living rather than control or fear or dominance or any of these other animal type qualities? The spiritual quality is to live in harmony, to live in peace, to live in equality, to love everyone and allow others to not love me. I'm very free with that. You know, I give people freedom not to love me. Usually without that resistance, because I don't have to be right in anything. I allow myself to be wrong in anything. I allow my idea to be the right one for me, as I know the one who's speaking is right for them. And if they have an idea that enhances mine or nurtures and nourishes mine, you know, I use it to feed me. I use it to give me even more of what I want, more of what I am, more awareness of who and what I am. Even in conflict, you know, I can be in this, which was demonstrated this past summer. I was in a place of a hostile attack of a relative at me for saying something and mulling over it for years, and then lashed out. And it amazed me that I could sit there and just love her, just let her have the truth that she has, the truth that she believes. It's not the one that I believe because I know I'm a loving person. She saw me as hatred and resentful or something. She saw me in a way that is not my nature. So it just amazes me that she could see me that way and hold on to it. But it's okay. It's her experience. But the spirit would have a dialogue around it. This happened 2 years ago. I've been very offended with it. And, you know, as Christ teaches us in the letters, I speak for 10 minutes and the other person, the adversary, listens. And then my adversary speaks for 10 minutes and I listen. And, you know, many times that's all we need to do is we just need to be heard or to realize that we're, pardon me, I thought I muted. I was in a class one night. These little teachings to me are important. They're examples of how I'm moving from an instinctive animalistic nature into a more spiritual nature. It began with religion, but it goes way beyond religion, just as the intelligence of our consciousness is way beyond our instinct. But see, I think this is what defines us as human beings of the mammalian family, because we can think and we can analyze and we can plan and we can remember and we can build, you know, we can communicate, so we can build on this. So instead of something taking thousands of years or generations, I mean, in the day of Jesus, the world was thought to be flat. And not until 1492 years later was it discovered to be round, spherical, like a ball. And now we get these beautiful pictures from space, and people who have been in space, or if you believe that's a myth or a lie, okay, that's all right. You know, there are people who still believe the world is flat. Amazing to me, but you know, it shows that one wants to hold on to that animal behavior, that animal consciousness, and limit it instead of saying, wow, I'm more than I thought I was. The world is more than I thought it was. Everything in the world is intelligently cooperating for my highest and best good. And mine is to give back to that which gives me. This is the law of nature. This is the instinctive nature. This is the ego nature. This is the lower part of consciousness that needs to be here in order for us to have this form. Without this lower consciousness, so-called, we could not have form. We could not exist on this plane. So nothing is denying the lower consciousness, the physical consciousness, because we need that to maintain us. But we don't need it to contain us. We don't need it to limit us from being brothers and sisters. We don't need it to control boundaries of any kind. It's important for us to have our own boundaries for our own authenticity. But after a while, we will no longer need these because they will be the automatic consciousness evolution of our spirit nature, of our human nature, okay? The man is still there, the physical is still there, but the idea is not to let it limit us. Look how far we've come in technology over the past 40 years, 100 years, depending on how old you are. I mean, I was born in 1940, and I think it was in 1947 that we had a television in our house. It was still a new invention. In 1947, that's only 78 years ago. Look how far we've come from a television to cellular phones to walking on the moon to all these things. So we're developing our animal nature very, very well. That's all our instinctive nature. That's all the intellect. That's all the using the tools of the intellect to build this fabulous world that we can live in. To have a house instead of a cave as I sit here in the comfort of my apartment, keeping me at a 73 degrees inside while it's 30-some degrees outside. I'm comfortable. I'm cared for. I have light even in the darkness. We've come so far, but we have spent more time on our human nature than on our human nature, okay? So Jesus brought us the gift of he brought us a gift of knowing who we are. He brought us a gift that we are the light. We are gods. We can do all that he showed us we can do. Not through religion, not through being like him, but through allowing our consciousness to evolve to that level of God oneness. That all that is everywhere present, we are consciously aware of as much as we can be aware of. So if we are aware of a God of judgment because God is made in my image and after my likeness, and I'm judging, so therefore God is, instead of being made in the image and likeness of God, meaning there is nothing to judge, there's only perfection. There's only, not only good, but very good of everything I've created. Everything you've created has been good, has been the God creating it through you. Do you like it? Great. Keep doing more. The more hue we are, the easier life is, the more fun it is, the more joy there is, the more beautiful relationships we have. That's the main thing. We have these beautiful relationships of open and honest people and people being themselves, being ourselves. We don't have to put on airs. We are who we are. We're appreciated and loved because of that. And we're all of that consciousness of just liking one another, that it just happens. So when we're together, whatever our community is, it's wonderful, it's fulfilling, it's rewarding. And so this is what the human nature is destined to be. And part of my evolutionary story of man, I always thought the violence was bad, killing was bad. But I'm talking to a brother, and he's very much into protection with weapons if necessary, but he's out to protect. And we, the peacemakers, need these people to protect us, there's this element within our lower nature that's instinctive and reactive. And so if I'm punched, the animal nature says punch back. If I'm punched, the Christ nature says give your other cheek. Show him that you love him regardless. Show him that you love yourself enough that you're not going to let him hurt you. Show him whatever message he or she wants to take from it. Turn the other cheek. So, but for those, he made me realize that we, the light brigade, also need those to go before us and change. For those that need a physical means to change, like, okay, I surrender, uncle, they may need that violence, and we may need that protection. He said, I would do anything for my wife if my wife is being harmed. I say, that to me, that's authentic. Okay, that's the deepest love. Well, not the deepest. There are many deep loves, but even Jesus said that. The greatest gift you can give to another is to give up your life, not as a sacrifice. Not that. We take Jesus. I mean, the church, the organization has taken Jesus, so misquoted him. He didn't mean I'm laying my life down as a sacrifice for you, so you should really love and appreciate me. No, he's saying that if you have that kind of love, that you're willing to give up your life for what you believe in, as I am giving up my life because of what I believe in, which is not the God that's being taught, which is not the God of the Jews, which is not the God of punishment, retaliation. The God is a God of love. Not of me, Jesus, but of me, Dwight Colby Smith. You is your name, the world, the only creator. So that's what's been on my mind about the evolution of the hue, spiritual hyphen man versus the man. So it's an evolution of consciousness. We have gotten a lot of good, and we will continue getting good. It means nothing. We don't have to give up anything to just be who we are. All we have to do is know this is who we are. I have asked in my meditations to the consciousness of Dwight Colby Smith and say, why aren't I there? Why aren't I more Christ than I am? And it says, because you're asking the question, because you're not believing that's who you are. And I am this more than I'm not, but I want to be here all the time. I'm here in my morning meditations, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to share it with you. And Timothy, I know you'll watch this, and I just appreciate you so much and the way you support me. That encourages me to do this. And December 31st, 2018 also encourages me to do this. So let's work more on our hue, man. Nurture and nourish it. It's already there. We just have to see what to let go of so we can just let it come out. Let it radiate through us. Let the light dispel the darkness of ignorance. The ignorance of I'm only a human. No, I am a human and growing, and as we all are. So we uplift one another. In the twinkling of an eye, everyone can get it. So thank you so much for being with me this day, for this month, this year, perhaps, if you've been with me this year. And I am just grateful, filled with gratitude, filled with love, filled with the topic of this, the evolution of the hue, spiritual man. I like it. God bless. Namaste.